How's your morning going?
Yeah, it's great. It's very strange because I started writing this movie like 2 years ago, and I was writing it like just in email drafts because I thought it was presumptuous to put it in like a screenwriting software because I never thought it would get made. So I was just writing in like these little kind of diary entry kind of things. So then like today to be celebrated by like, such an illustrious Hollywood institution in this very, big way has been surprising and wonderful.
Have you ever had this kind of response to something you've written before?
No, that's the really strange part of this experience for me is that I've been writing for 20 years. I've had plays on, some of them have been popular, but in an off-Broadway setting. I mean, I've written for the New Yorker magazine, which is a wonderful place to write, but it's essentially you're writing a page-long essay. And so I've been writing for a long time, and I've been well known because I'm an actor. And so this strange thing about my career has been I've been really known for something while really trying to do something else, perhaps for even more time. So I feel very flattered to now be seen as a writer. It just feels nice to, I don't know, be validated for something that I've spent so much time doing.
How much of your life have you spent writing, or do you spend writing?
Every year I write, now I'm writing movie scripts, but every year I would write something, if it's a book of short stories or a play. So I would write something every year, since I'm 20 years old, and a lot of things have not been published or seen. So when you have something like this, like A Real Pain, which not only got made, which was like the biggest blessing in the world, but to then be like celebrated like this is, the thing I take away from it is like, oh, this is just gonna make the next one easier, and maybe this will make the next two easier because you've been given this very public validation.
Are you able to enjoy moments like this?
Oh, no, I'm not really wired to enjoy praise. I don't know why. I think it just triggers some guilt response in my brain. But I'll tell you what I do love. Like I love actually doing my job. And then all of like the external praise, for some reason, I somehow morph it into something, bad in my head. I don't know why, but I really love my job.
That's great. Being in the moment of your
Yeah,
job. And that
exactly.
other stuff, can you push it away?
Yeah, I find it easy to push it away. I'm not on social media, and I'm like not a person who's like, on the phone with industry people all the time. And so my life feels pretty separate. My wife is a teacher. My kid doesn't really even watch movies, so I'm not like knee deep in the world of like constantly trying to assess my own status in an industry.
And that probably feels pretty healthy.
It is healthy, yeah. And as we were talking about, and I've lived in Indiana for the last, decade on and off. Yeah, that's where I feel kind of most comfortable. I'm not somebody who wants to surround myself in an industry that just feels kind of unstable to me.
So this started off as a trip to Mongolia.
Yeah.
And then as you're kind of stuck, something pops up on your computer?
Yeah, so this movie originally took place in Mongolia instead of Poland. It was these two guys, David and Benji, the characters I and Kieran Culkin play in this movie. And I was like 30 pages into the script. They were in Mongolia, and something was missing. Like I knew the script was not going well. And so I'm like kind of like banging my head against the keyboard, and an ad pops up online for Auschwitz tours, and then in parentheses, with lunch. And I was like, Auschwitz tours with lunch? That's like the strangest pairing of 4 words I've ever seen. Because Auschwitz is the name and the epitome and the symbol of historical horror. And then with lunch, just implies like, oh, this must be kind of like a yuppie tour through the horrors of history, and how strange that that's the way we want to tour these places. So I clicked on the ad, and the ad took me to what I expected, which was essentially, like it's a wonderful thing. It's a tour that takes you through the horrors of, World War II. But at night, you're staying in the nice hotel, and you're eating a continental breakfast before you go visit the concentration camp, and you're, taking like first-class trains, from Warsaw to Krakow. And once I saw that, and once I read that brochure, I was like, oh, that's the movie. That is so interesting. I was trying to deal with these two characters who are both kind of like in pain in their own ways. And I thought it would be so interesting to set them against the backdrop of like historical trauma, to kind of like put their lives in perspective.
You raised these really interesting questions about pain.
Mm-hmm.
What were the questions you were trying to address?
Questions I was trying to address in this movie are just like very personal things that I haven't figured out in my own life yet. I come from a family who survived the war, a lot of, cousins, aunts, and uncles who didn't, and yet I walk around New York City like kind of miserable. And yet I come from people who survived through miracles. So, intellectually, I think I should be waking up every morning, kissing the dirt that I'm here by virtue of 1,000 miracles. And instead I walk around, I'm like, oh my God, what am I gonna to do today? Oh my God, I shouldn't drink a coffee because then I'll peak at noon. This is the kind of nonsense that's like in my head for no reason. And so I'm constantly trying to reconcile my fortune and my forebears' very unfortunate lives and how they appreciated things. And that's what this movie is kind of focusing on.
And at the same time, is your pain invalid because your ancestors went through so much pain?
Exactly. That's exactly it. The kind of answer that arises in my mind when I'm thinking about this stuff is, well, I guess two things can be true at once. I can understand that my feelings are valid and I could try to work on them and better myself, et cetera, while also understanding that kind of my grievances are like a speck of sand compared to the beach of my forebears' pain.
There are a couple of references in the movie to David, your character, being a sad kid, crying a lot.
Yeah.
And that was you in real life?
Yeah, I was like a miserable kid. Now I can stop crying in public because of antidepressants and breathing techniques. But as a kid, I didn't have those two things. So I was just like crying everywhere. I was like a sad kid, until I really found performing and theater. And yeah, that was really helpful. But I was a miserable little kid. I don't know why.
How did acting help?
Because it just gave me something like else to do. So like I was miserable in school. I couldn't go to school. Acting gave me like just a feeling of, not empowerment, because I wasn't very good as a kid, but just a feeling of like, oh, there's other stuff in the world. Acting allowed me to hang out with adults. And somehow being with adults and seeing people who just made me feel like there's possibilities in life. Like, oh, I could be like them. I'm in community theater. I'm doing it with people who are not getting paid. They're people who are essentially, doing day jobs, and then at night they come to the community theater. And I saw like, oh, they've found a way to like enjoy their lives, like outside of their jobs, and it just felt like, oh, they found a place they feel accepted and where they belong. And I felt like that too there.
It gave you hope.
Yeah, exactly. It really did.
Were you able to channel that sadness into acting too? Do you think in the end it helped you?
100%. Yes, exactly. No, what you're saying is just exactly astute and correct, which is that being like a person whose emotions are very close to the surface, for me was helpful as a performer doing like drama. I was on the set of A Real Pain. My character's crying in the movie on a rooftop. I'm surrounded by 40 people who are like securing the camera on a rooftop and making sure that the trucks are running. Like some people who I would not really want to be crying in front of, let's say, but because it's my job and it's like the expectation, and not only is it my job, but I get like lauded for it, because yes, I'm playing a character, and because I wrote the script and I'm talking about things in the script that have really plagued my mind for a long time, I'm having a real, genuine catharsis. And so I'm writing the script, I'm sitting in the library and I'm writing the script and I'm crying because I'm having these thoughts for the first time as I'm writing it. And then the acting is really kind of a natural extension of it. And I feel lucky that I found a job that all of the, things that I was kind of ashamed of when I was younger are now things to be celebrated.
What is your directing style like? I don't picture you as a screaming kind of
No,
a director.
no.
What's your style like?
No, I feel like just such an unbelievable amount of gratitude and warmth that anybody is on that set in every single position. And I've had the advantage as an actor to be in so many movies where I've had the feeling of being like part of a team, and I've also had experiences on set where we all feel terrified. And so, and also as an actor, I know what everybody on set is doing because I'm working with them. So, you spend the first hour of your morning in hair and makeup trailer. Directors don't do that. You're waiting off the set with the, grip and electric team before your entrance, so you know what they're doing. And so as an actor, I've had the advantage of understanding what jobs are on set. And so when I'm on set now as a director, not only do I know what people do, but I have this just fantastic appreciation for what they do because I know what it is, and they're waking up at 5 o'clock, and they're getting there maybe even before me as the director to light a scene before we get there. And so no, I feel so lucky and indebted to be working with these amazing crews that I've gotten to work with. I love actors, obviously, because I know what it feels like to be an actor who is feeling nervous on set. Yeah, it's just been beautiful, and I think there's like a nice tone created that because I really have so much admiration for everybody there.
And it seems like if you're on a tight schedule too, the focus has to kind of be on let's just go, 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 go.
Exactly.
There's not a lot of time for other stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Like, except when the schedule is so demanding, it's that much more important to kind of, just make the set a nice experience. We were making this movie in Poland with a Polish crew. I'm an American, obviously, and I'm a Jewish American, and I'm going back there to make my story about my family's trauma in Poland. And so I had this initial feeling that perhaps I'd be resented by, a Polish crew who's, yet another American coming in to tell their Holocaust story and everything. And it was just the exact opposite experience. I had this just amazing experience of people being like interested in this story, interested in the way I was planning on depicting their country, which I told them very explicitly. I want to be beautiful and I want it to be the postcard that I see, not the bleak thing that I heard about growing up. So it turned into this really lovely experience to the point where like I was compelled to get Polish citizenship because I just fell so in love with the country and the people. Really,
Are you a Polish citizen now?
yeah, I have like my Polish Social Security number. I really felt so like indebted to the people not only working on my movie, but the people who are working in Poland to preserve Jewish history there. And I just felt like I wanted to have an even greater connection than I do right now.
So, Kieran Culkin, nominated for an Oscar now for his performance. You had not seen his work prior to casting him?
No, yeah, I hadn't seen Kieran in anything, mostly because the things he was in were like so great that I just avoided them out of just out of like a feeling of like, I don't want to see this thing. It's supposed to be great. I don't want to see this thing. I just like, I don't know what that is. That's probably not it's probably not one of my virtues. But so I hadn't seen Kieran in anything. And yet we had an audition together in 2008 for a movie called Adventureland, a movie that I was in and that he was auditioning for. And he came in to this audition room. Again, I was already cast in it. And he came into this audition room and started like beating me up, like it was kind of in the script, and making fun of me, kind of in the script, and being so brilliantly funny, and then walked out of the room, and we were just like, that was brilliant and aggressive and fascinating and so brazen. And so when I was thinking about who would work well with me in this movie, playing a character who comes onto the trip that I plan and who kind of beats me up, but also charms the group at my expense, I was thinking, oh yeah, that's the relationship I had briefly with this brilliant actor. And so I was thinking, yeah, who can be great in the movie? But I was also thinking of what's the correct dynamic for this movie, given that I'm already playing a part in it. And that seemed to me just so perfect. And then, Kieran showed up on set, and within 2 seconds, it just felt like we had been doing this for years.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
You mentioned that you're on and off in Indiana.
Yeah.
Why did you move to Indiana?
My wife was born and raised in Bloomington, which is like one of the great American cities. So we've been going back there for the last 20 years just to visit. And then my mother-in-law, who was, this truly amazing gift to the world, she was for 35 years, she got sick, so we kind of moved back to help take care of her. Then we had a kid, and then the pandemic hit, so we wound up being there for several years. And now our kid goes to school in New York, so we're now really back in New York. But I just loved it there, too. I like to keep as many feet outside the door of the entertainment industry as possible, so I don't feel like somebody who's constantly trying to pound the pavement and knock on doors and you get jobs. I just don't want to be that person. It doesn't fit me. So being in Indiana from like a professional perspective was really great because it made me feel like, if I'm not working now, that's fine, and I have this other life, and I could write during the day. And so being in Indiana allowed me to have like an extra foot outside the door of the entertainment industry in a way that was really comfortable.
That makes total sense. And were you working in the shelter as well?
Yeah, so during the pandemic, there was no acting work, obviously, and so yeah, I was just volunteering every day at the shelter. It was like the happiest time of my life. Like I was painting walls and fixing garbage disposals, and and it was like, it was the first time I had like a real job. It sounds strange to say that, but at 38 years old, it was the first time I had like a real job, and I just loved it so much. I loved being able to like accomplish something where there was no like critique of it. You know what I mean? I could be active and working and helping and doing something that's really contributing nicely, but not in a way where I was receiving praise, which somehow sometimes feels like it negates the contribution, or receiving criticism, which hurts because it's criticism. And so it's just like this amazing feeling. I tell my wife all the time, it's the first time I felt like if I never got another acting part, I would be okay in this world because I like doing things. It was kind of like revelatory for me to have a real job at that age and love it.
It makes total sense. You fix the garbage disposal's fixed. End of it.
Exactly, exactly.
Are you handy around the house?
I'm pretty handy because I'm nervous about calling professionals to come to the house because of all the interactions. I'd rather just fix this thing, probably break it, than make 10 calls and get an estimate. And so for me, I just look on YouTube, and this is how I fix the toilet, and I know it's not going to stay fixed, but at least I did it myself.
Based on YouTube. Literally, you're a
YouTube.
handyman based on YouTube.
Oh, who isn't? Yeah.
And your first date ever was with your wife? Is that right?
Yeah, my first date I went on was with my wife, yeah. First of all, no one liked me before that, but it was also this other thing where I would just get like so nervous about everything. So like I would meet somebody, and if I liked them, I would just like run through my entire life with them based on the little information I know. I mean, even like taking the subway, and I'm like, oh my God, that woman is an angel over there. And then I'm like, oh wait, what book is she reading? Oh no, wait, that wouldn't be good, because if she's reading that book, then by this time, and then we're gonna get, then if we had a kid, she'd probably be interested in that kind of stuff, and that wouldn't be good for a kid to know about. I'm just like, this is how my mind works. And I met my wife, and I was just like, everything seems to check out. Yeah.
That story had a good ending?
Yeah.
Or as far as you could take it?
Yeah, because she was so cool and so interested in all the right things. And so for me, it was like, how can I learn from this person? Because she's really a truly like amazing, singular kind of person.
That's awesome. And we should clarify that even though that was your first date, you dated other people and then came back. It's not like that was your first date and you guys were
Yeah, exactly. My
forever
wife
together.
and I took like, we had like a 3-year separation, but it's been, I mean, I met her 20-something years ago, yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
You don't read reviews, you said, right?
No.
So does she read reviews for you?
My wife is so uninterested in all the stuff surrounding the entertainment industry. So mostly what happens is like her friends who are more in touch with stuff will send her like a nice thing that she'll send me. But what's great about her in terms of that kind of stuff is that she just doesn't worry about it or dwell on it or think it's important. She just is able to put my stuff in perspective in a way that I find impossible. I know intellectually my stuff is not like important in the world, but it's sometimes hard to feel that because you're surrounded by people who are telling you it is, and because you work on it and you work hard on it, et cetera. But she really just has a clear perspective just based on growing up with activist parents who taught her what like the real things that kind of matter in the world are.
That's great. So her reaction to the Oscar nominations?
Oh, this morning, yeah, she was like, I'm so happy for you, congratulations. Can you call this person for me? I had another, I was given a task, So yeah, I mean, what are you gonna do?
Can you fix the garbage disposal? We need to move on, that
Exactly.
sort of thing.
How many times can you say congratulations to a person? Yeah.
Is there a part of you that finds this whole experience with the way that A Real Pain has been received kind of unreal, that at some moment you're gonna wake up?
Oh, yeah. I assume a piano is going to fall on my head every day because I feel like I am so lucky. And the way my mind does equations is that this lucky thing must mean this horrible upcoming thing. And so, yes, I'm not walking under any air conditioners in New York City for the last 6 months. And I don't know how to think about it any other way. And that's really unfortunate, but true.